but it's really important to bring us back to why we're all here. You were invited here because you are somehow connected to our mission. Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin is the largest food bank in the state. We serve 35 counties. We work directly with more than 400 pantries and organizations, and we wouldn't be able to have the impact that we do without everyone in this room and the support we receive from our local communities. So please give yourselves a round of applause. Awesome. So as you know, we have two amazing families with us today, Sarah and Mark Tauscher and AJ and Gab Dillon. We are fortunate enough to work with all of them in 2022, and honestly, I don't think we've publicized this before today, but combined, these two families have helped provide more than 1.2 million meals to local neighbors in need. Now, before we get them up here, I want to bring President and CEO of Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin, Patty Habeck, to the stage. Patty is not your typical 9-to-5 CEO. She's wearing a Packer jersey. And I've had the pleasure of working with Patty for several years now, but honestly, in the past year, we've had a lot of challenges with inflation, supply chain issues, and honestly, whatever else gets thrown our way, we've seen Patty out in the warehouse, and we've seen her in the parking lots in the snowstorm, doing whatever's needed to help get food out to the community. And whether that's pushing a pallet jack around or loading up heavy boxes, ladies and gentlemen, Patty Habeck.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You're also not here to see me, but I do want to talk about Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin because it is one of my favorite things to talk about. I do have to say, I promised Jess I would stay on script, so I guess I'm going to stay on script. It is truly, truly an honor and a privilege for me to be leading this organization, especially this organization at this time. There can be no more important mission that I can spend my time on than what we are doing to make sure that all families have enough food on their table. And that's just a special, special place for me to spend my time. So it is something that makes me extremely happy to be a part of. And I work with a fabulous team and a most incredible team. And so I'm very, very lucky. I think it's safe to say that the Green Bay Packers are the most popular and most beloved brand in the state of Wisconsin. I'm really trying to advocate that Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin is, but so far we're second behind the Packers. That is the real America's team. Everyone at Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin is so thrilled that these families wanted to use their name and their platforms to really get involved and create some change in the community. It's just not something that you see every day, especially the level of engagement that these families really got involved in. It's genuine. And when we started talking to the Dillon family about this partnership, AJ brought up that his sister ran for kid governor, and her platform was providing food for all. I mean, how awesome is that? So it runs in the family. And the Tauschers brought an entire Sun Prairie youth hockey team between games, brought them to our Milwaukee warehouse so they could help pack pizzas. I think 4,000 pounds of pizzas. So that was pretty special as well. So thank you. As you heard Liz say, more than 1.2 million meals have been provided thanks to the generosity and the commitment of these two families. AJ really got things rolling this summer with Healthy Kids, Healthy Summer, focusing on providing meals for kids who didn't have access when school was out. 1 in 6 kids across the state don't know where their next meal is coming from. And quite honestly, in some pockets of communities, that number is even much, much higher. So they depend on school meals for most months of the year. But winter, spring, and summer breaks can be really, really tough on the kids. We worked with a retired teacher on some initiatives, and she relayed to us that people sometimes forget that the 3-day weekend is really, really tough on the kids. You see that when they get back to class on Tuesday after a long weekend, they're really dragging. That long 3-day week, when they left on Friday, the meal that they had at school might be the only substantial, nutritious meal they might have had until they return on Tuesday. We want to make sure that everyone has access to that proper nutrition. Every child has access to that proper nutrition wherever they are so that they have that ability to learn and can really live into their potential. AJ and Gab helped us bridge that gap in the summer, and we are so grateful for that. We're thrilled to announce that they're actually back again for the summer of 2023, so they're not done yet. They're going to pump up that number. I was talking to AJ and Gab before, and I said, just put any challenge out there, and AJ's going to try to blow it away. So we're going to bring that number up really high this year, and we're going to see what happens when we meet again next year. Just a few weeks ago, we wrapped up with Mark and Sarah. They were helping us keep the tradition alive to make sure that everyone had a holiday meal. All the neighbors that we had holiday meals with their annual Food for the Holidays campaign. That was their special space with us. The holidays can be such a stressor for so many in our state, especially right now with the prices on the rise. And especially, it was really hard to access things like turkeys this year and things like that, and these families were really struggling, so this was really timely. But these two champion the cause. 1 in 8 people in our state are food insecure. But these two got out in front of the cameras, and Mark talked about the cause on his daily radio show. And as I mentioned, a little sweat equity from the Sun Prairie hockey team. And we had a lot of food that was rolling out over the holidays, and we're so grateful to the Tauscher family for that. Yeah. It's the commitment to families like these, and also families like yours. I can look out here, and I have seen many or most of you actually in our volunteer space at some point in time, many times with families. And so it's these families and it's your families who are gracious enough to lend a helping hand to allow us to feed our neighbors in need and support our community. Obviously, there are very, very few cities like Green Bay that are so absolutely passionate about football and about our Packers, but more so they're passionate about supporting their neighbors and supporting each other and making sure that everyone has what they need. Driving in, I saw AJ's name literally painted on a fence across the street. And you can, it was kind of fun. And you can hear Tauscher on his radio show every day and before and after kickoff game all the time. And you can see that this community is dedicated, and we are grateful for the love and support that's always shown by these families. Thank you to our pantry partners. We can't do what we do without our pantry partners. And that was only one line in here, and I just need to go off script for just a minute. Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin is the largest food bank, but we could never do what we do without a network. I don't consider ourselves the 2 food bank locations. I consider ourselves, Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin is the network. And that network are the pantries that are part of it and who work diligently on that front line, and particularly in going through the holidays, what the pantries were able to do through the bad weather and through all the disruptions that were happening. The pantry partners made sure that the neighbors were fed. And so a huge shout out to our pantry partners, and some of them are here. And so big round of applause. Together, we are solving hunger. And we're going to continue to solve hunger, and we're all going to be tireless until we work tirelessly until we make sure that every family has what they need at all times. We're celebrating you. We're celebrating our work here together. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
How's it going, everybody? Let's give another round of applause for Patty and Liz, by the way. Going to be very, very tough acts to follow, so I'm going to call in some help and introduce the Tauschers and the Dillons here in a second, the real people you guys came to see. So first up, Mark and Sarah Tauscher. I couldn't think of better people to work with, especially on some of the things we've done over the past year fighting hunger in the state of Wisconsin. And for those of you that don't know, Tausch played high school football, basketball, probably baseball, pickleball, all the above in the state of Wisconsin. The pickleball thing is serious, guys. It's real. In the state of Wisconsin in high school, then went on to play for the Badgers and was drafted by the Green Bay Packers and never left. Finished his career with a Super Bowl title here, and I think one of the most crowning achievements of his career was 2008 when he was named the Green Bay Packers nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year, and it is now a couple years ago. Give it up, yeah. And just a couple of years ago in this very building, he was inducted into the Green Bay Packers Green and Gold Hall of Fame. So ladies and gentlemen, Mark and Sarah Tauscher. And then our other two. Absolutely. And our other two panelists for the evening, One of them is going to play a very big role on Sunday, and that is AJ and Gab Dillon. So we started working with AJ and Gab over the summer, as Patty and Liz kind of talked about, and honestly, it was amazing. We had a bunch of kids around them when we were shooting a commercial, and AJ fit right in when they were eating applesauce. And it was a rain-out day, too, a little behind the scenes. We were filming a commercial indoors, and they were still throwing a football around, and it was great. So we couldn't be happier to work with AJ and Gab, and a 2020 second-round pick of the Green Bay Packers. He currently has, 5 straight games? Touchdown in 5 straight games? Yeah, 5 or 6, maybe 7, who knows. He'll get a couple more this Sunday. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the Quad family, AJ and Gab Dillon. Thank you. But I want to start today's Q&A by asking Tausch, you have any advice for AJ? I mean, you've been in this spot before.
Yeah, I never scored a touchdown.
To be fair,
he got called back.
That's fair.
He got called back.
No, I think they're in pretty good shape, and I think for watching and doing media things and watching this team, I think you have to be really impressed. And someone just asked me when we were doing some stuff earlier what the correlations are, and I think the thing that's interesting in watching it is you build that confidence up. And there's one thing if you're like the last couple seasons when you've been a 1 seed and the season was easy. And then the postseason wasn't. And a lot of times sometimes it's a good thing to kind of have that chip on your shoulder and be the underdog and getting hot and getting the confidence. And so for us, it was a season where things went haywire. We had injuries. We had a bunch of stuff happen. But then guys started coming into their own. And as December was coming, and you see with Matt LaFleur, December and January is pretty good. So I think that's where I would see that correlation, and the fact that everybody's getting healthy, and you just feel like now all of a sudden, instead of it being, well, the defense played good for a half, the offense played good, you're starting to see that special teams playing good, and complementary football that you're starting to notice. I think the Packers are in great shape, and I don't think there's one team in the NFC that is thinking, boy, I hope Green Bay rolls Detroit and they come into town and play us in the playoffs.
And I was pregnant.
During the Super Bowl run.
Just saying. They decided it was a superstition, right? Because there were so many of us, and the last time they had gone, people were pregnant. So
How many ladies are pregnant on this year's team?
There's a few.
Yeah, a lot of coaches' wives are pregnant.
So it all
Frankie
So the correlation-
Bobby just had her baby.
maybe, I don't know.
We'll take it.
So we'll get to the pregnancy and all the actually important stuff in a second.
You're good.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm excited. This is exactly what you want, exactly what you dream of as a little kid. We're already in playoff mode, but to get to the playoffs, you're going to play Sunday Night Football, the last game of the NFL regular season at Lambeau with our fans against an opponent we see all the time, we know very well. And, like you said, we're getting hot at the right moment. Some teams get hot at the beginning of the year, and then they fizzle out. We had some struggles, some adversity. Now everybody's really hitting our stride. So I'm excited. I know the guys are confident, just itching to get out there. And for everybody who raised their hands, I expect to hear you all. Let me know exactly which seat you're in. I'll be looking for you. And, definitely excited.
Stick around to the end of this, too, because we actually have a pair of tickets to give away to a lucky member of the audience. So stick around for that. AJ, we mentioned earlier touchdowns in 5 straight games. I saw a symphony orchestra or your new touchdown celebration. What was the genesis of that?
Yeah, so every Saturday practice we have a little walkthrough, and usually it's a lot more lighthearted. It's just kind of going through the plays again. And this past Saturday before our last game, Mercedes Lewis, Big Dog, is what we call him, and then Alan Lazard came over to me and were like, we got to get something. We got to get a celebration that the entire team knows what you're doing. Because sometimes there's some cool celebrations, but it's just like 1 or 2 guys or 3 guys in. And we're like, we got to get something that everybody can play or everybody can do. And we're like, everybody plays instruments. And so that's what we were doing every time the defense was out there, and everybody was like, well, I want to play this. Well, I want to play this. I want to play this. And so, we were supposed to do it on Bobby Tunyon's first touchdown. He was the first offensive touchdown, but he had his own thing queued up, and he, jumped into the wall. Didn't try to jump into the stand, just jumped into the wall. It looked like it hurt. And then, so, one thing I will say is I was telling my coach on Monday when we watched the film, I was like, in that huddle before I scored was the most confident I've been that we're going to score a touchdown. We all looked at each other and we're already figuring out what everybody was figuring out what they were going to play. Everybody was like, well, I call this. And we're like, we still got to run the play, guys. They know we're going to run the ball right here. And, no, we got in there and, everybody did their job. We had a saxophone. We had a cowbell, 2 violinists. Aaron Jones and Patrick Taylor, the other running backs, were not even in the play. They ran from the sidelines in there. So it was awesome to have some fun out there.
And it looked like you got a little gift in the mail today, official symphony orchestra. What is it, a wand?
So Dr. Glenn Hayes is he is the director of the band at University of Wisconsin Whitewater. And I get fan mail all the time, but I was like, I got something that was in this plastic tube, and I was like, I have no idea what this is. I don't know what I'm about to get, so I had a communication guy open it. I was like, you gotta open this, bro, and let me see what it is. And but sure enough, he wrote this really nice letter, and it's I don't know what it's actually called, but it's a conducting thing. Baton, I think it's a baton, and in the note he said, he led bands and things at Carnegie Hall, which is one of the most famous, places for, music. And he was like, I was able to perform on the world's biggest stage with this baton, and I'm hoping that it will give you, and your team the luck to go and perform in football's biggest stage. So it was really nice. Got that today, and it's crazy. Like I said, we got the best fans in football. Just really nice things like that. Didn't ask me to sign anything. He just wanted me to have that. It was really cool, really thoughtful.
So AJ, do you have any sneak peek for everybody on what the plan is for Sunday night? Tomorrow's your prep. Anything?
Yeah, we have a dance planned. This is gonna require some rhythm and timing. Everybody has to.
Linemen are out. They're not gonna be.
Yeah, they're in the back. They're in the back. But yeah, and it's actually the dance originated in Milwaukee, so that'll be cool. It's paying some homage to some locals. So.
All right, so we're gonna see that probably a few times on
Yes.
Sunday. We can all hope for.
Absolutely, fingers crossed.
So I wanted to, as we all talked about the mission and everything that you guys have been involved in all year. So Sarah and Gab, I wanted to start with you guys. First, you have to tell me what air instrument you would play in the touchdown celebration. I'll give you a second there, and then we want to hear what is it?
Flute.
The flute? Can you give the audience
Oh, yeah, everyone wants it. Water bottle. The water bottle's on.
Hold on.
There we go. So your guys' families have obviously been super involved in everything we do at Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. And Sarah, we'll go to you first. What prompted that? Like what happened with either within your family or your upbringing that you guys wanted to really get involved and make a huge difference in our community?
Yeah, so our children have sort of reached an age where they've started to get involved in our charitable activities, and it really sparked from a conversation we had with our son and something that he really wanted to get involved with. And so we were looking at ways we like to impact children, and you guys do an amazing job helping children, making sure that food insecurities are taken care of at such a large portion of the state. And so you're having just such an incredible impact, and that for us just was so meaningful that we wanted to partner and make an even bigger impact across such a large portion of the state of Wisconsin.
And you guys definitely did that, so thanks again for being involved. And then Gab, the same to you, just your guys' impact. So new, AJ, just being drafted by the Packers, just third season now, and making such a huge impact early on in your careers.
Yeah, I think food insecurity is something we've been really passionate about as well. And just being a little bit younger, I think, been in grade school and high school not that long ago, I always kind of unfortunately knew, like, the kids that, didn't know where their next meal was going to come from. So, like,
He's making fun of me.
Oh,
I think he's trying to say I'm old.
I don't know. But no, it's just, it's sad. And so I think it was really awesome when we had the opportunity to partner with Feeding America, and it's so close to home. We call this place home, and I grew up here. So that we were excited.
Well, thanks again to you guys as well for your massive involvement this past year. And Tausch, a lot of the things we do involve directly working with local farmers, and you have experienced that firsthand. You grew up on a farm here in Wisconsin. Tell us a little bit about that and just like how you understand how important it is to get fresh, healthy foods directly to people.
Yeah, I mean, being a farmer and understanding kind of that whole process was something really important to me. Living there and, going through, not really, when you're on a farm, you don't worry about that because you have feed, you have animals, you have the whole thing. And as you kind of get out there, that you provide and you want to kind of see that you can provide to more people. And that's what I think from the Feeding America standpoint, and not understanding the scope of how big, the warehouse and all of the different food pantries that the network that allows it to get out to more people. That was what was, I thought, from our family standpoint, was really cool, because it's one thing if you're just, getting milk for the neighbor up the street when we're on a farm. It's another thing when you can take all those resources and provide throughout a big distribution channel. That was what I think was really interesting for us, and what I think was really allowed to make a big impact.
Just definitely a family affair from all involved, and I know Patty touched on it before, but your sister as well kind of took food insecurity under her belt when doing some things back in your home state. Tell us a little bit about that and how obviously supporting food or solving food insecurity has really hit home for you guys.
Yeah, so my little sister Olivia, she is now 11 years old. In her class, they had a project, and it was in Connecticut. They do this thing for kid governor, and it's you got to get past this stage and then the next. And the project was, everybody had to do it, but it was to find some way to give back in a charitable way, and a platform you stand on. And for her, it was food insecurity. My mom's a teacher, assistant principal. She actually taught me. That was that was a fun time in 6th grade. But she that was before I even got started with Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin. So honestly, she might have jump started me on this whole thing. But I remember she had this presentation, and she came to me and she calls me Bubby, and she's like, "Bubby, I want you to hear this. This is a really big deal." And obviously I'm from New London, Connecticut, where she's going to school now. And she was like, "This is a really big deal. I really want you to watch this presentation." And I'm sitting there, and Gab's watching with me, and I'm like, wow, like I had no idea, that this was such a big issue as it was. And, she did well, and she's on the cabinet. She was like top 5 in Connecticut, which, kudos to her and everything. And she was really passionate about it. And through that, I've been able to help kind of jumpstart some initiatives for her back there. But it's crazy. It all comes full circle.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, like probably many people in the crowd, when I was thinking of things to ask you guys, I thought we're talking about food and things. When I watch football, I like to eat a lot of food. Is anyone out here with me on that? You guys have had a little bit different of an experience because you've been on the field. So I wanted to know, for an offensive lineman and a running back, what does a post-game meal look like? Or post-practice, especially training camp?
I was just telling AJ that, when we would come over back in the old days, which, 20 some odd years ago, we are getting older, there was a gas station. There was none of the Titletown and Hinterland Brewing. It was a gas station, a mobile station, not even a Quick Trip, a mobile station with a Subway in it. And we'd go and be like, I'd text, "Hey, man," or call, because I don't think we even text back then.
You call.
Damn, we are old.
You call.
So it was always funny because you bring a sub in, but for a post game, I mean, if you win, wings, beer, let it rip, and if you lose, you didn't want to. I don't want to see anybody. You just go home and hopefully, yeah.
What about you, running backs?
Yeah, I think when we win, I don't think there's much I don't eat. They do a good job. We have really great chefs here, and they do a good job of having like post game meals for us that we can bring back. And they always say, take as much as you want. And we'll have like sushi, and I'll throw in burgers, 2 things that do not go together, but I'm taking it. I'm like, I'm gonna eat this at some point, and sure enough, we'll have a noon kickoff or something. I'll bring it back and be like, we'll start off with the burgers, and then later on, like that sushi does look good. So, I just eat just about anything, but like like you said, like camp or like practice. When we're done with camp, we shoot up to Door County. I try to bring a bunch of my teammates up there and stuff, and we're getting a bunch of wings.
And
Yeah.
just so everyone here is clear, you're the unofficial mayor of Door County, or have you been elected yet?
I'm the official mayor.
The official?
Yeah. No, nobody ran against me. Unattested.
The unopposed
Yeah.
mayor. I just wanted to clear the air for everyone knowing that. So you and Gab made some headlines recently with your expecting, is it June or July? The later May. Sorry about
Even
that.
closer.
Yeah. You want for people who don't know, you want to share the news with everyone in the room?
Yes, we're going to be welcoming a baby boy in May.
So you guys are going to be new at the whole parenting thing. The two people to your left have some experience in the whole parenting realm. They mentioned their 2 kids earlier today. So Sarah and Tausch, what's the best parenting advice you have for 2 rookies entering the game?
Listen to your wife.
I like that.
I think lots of people have advice, and I think you have to follow your own story. I mean, we have 2 children, and our birth story wasn't the same for either one. They do different things, they need different things, so I think trust yourself and kind of stick with what works for the 2 of you and your family.
I like it.
Thanks.
And then that is good advice.
I like that. Listen to me. I'm just kidding.
Sarah, I wanted to ask you some advice for AJ. What can he do to make the next couple months as easy on Gab as humanly possible? Besides listen, obviously.
You might be asking the wrong wife on that. I'm not sure I was probably the best test case on that.
He was for number 2.
Number 2. That was after you retired as well. So.
Maybe,
Yeah. I think, it's the beauty is you're having the babe before it gets too hot, which will be amazing. I think just being there, I think there's a lot that is hard and sometimes you can get uncomfortable. So whatever you can do to make her comfortable and happy, and sometimes things that aren't a really big deal feel really big. And so just listening and maybe not doing anything. Yes, I hear you. But maybe not giving feedback that it might sound ridiculous. Sometimes, I think if I would have taped myself, I might have seen silly at times. But.
So, on the topic of parenting, we have a fun little game plan for these 2, but I'm going to need some help from the audience. So, anyone out there, or 2 people actually, want to get involved, you'll have to come up to the stage, and you're going to have to bet on whether AJ or Tausch here.
I'll volunteer my buddy Cripsy. He'll be one for sure. So I'll volunteer him since we'll.
You're coming on up. We need one more. You got your hand up first.
Oh boy, what do we got here?
So, Tausch, you've probably changed some diapers in your day.
Not as many as you'd think.
Oh my God.
I would also recommend bringing grandma in for right in the beginning.
AJ, I'm sure you're going to have to change a lot, especially with May being the off season, and you're going to be hanging out in Door County. So we are going to have these 2, with advice from their coaches here. We are going to have them diaper an NFL football. But here's the fun part.
I don't think I signed up for this.
Brent, your name, right? Yeah. Brent, I'm going to have you pick who you think is going to diaper this thing accurately and the quickest. And if you pick the right winner, you're going to go home with a football signed by both of them. So do you want the seasoned vet? Or do you want the rookie?
I
Yes, sir.
feel like I think it's a wise move.
Any advice, Sarah?
Oh boy. Just remember the tabs and yeah.
So if you 2 want to step up to the table.
I even think you might beat me at this point. It's been a few years removed.
I don't have one yet.
We have extras with us. If
Oh,
you
no,
guys want
I-
to go at it after her.
I'm all right. I'm all set.
And if you guys could all help me out, we will count down from 3, 2,
Medium.
1. Oh, they got it open.
Oh, what size diaper
AJ
did
has
you
a handle
select?
on this.
I guess. My goodness.
I think AJ is accurately. And he made it look easy. Wait, sorry.
That's well done. Looks pretty good. Congrats.
Appreciate it.
He went a long way. I wasn't sure if you go vertical or horizontal.
This is the one you get.
All right, so we'll get back to a few questions here, and then as we wrap things up, we're going to have some time for some questions from the audience.
Hey,
All right, let's see Cripsy do that.
come on up. Come on up.
We can get a competitor from you from the audience. You good? All right. At the end of this, too, we're going to have some time for some questions from the audience. So start thinking of some very hard-hitting questions for these four up here as we wrap things up. But I wanted to talk a little bit about just the community, and Patty and Liz talked about it before as well. The dedication and just the love that the state of Wisconsin, especially the city of Green Bay, has for the Packers and really all the sports teams in the town. Where a lot of us work in Milwaukee, and we see the Bucks and the Brewers get a ton of love all over the place. And Gab, you went to UW, University of Wisconsin. Badgers in the room, make a little bit of noise. There we go. And now you're part of the Packer family. So I wanted to see from your perspective, you've seen some of the most loyal fans across the nation. And what has that meant to you, whether it's as a fan or in the stands rooting for AJ?
It's meant so much. It's so awesome. It's really funny too. My family are the pretty pure example of like the die-hard Packer fans. So I think it was really fun for them too to welcome AJ into the family. And it's been so awesome too to just like be able to cheer for, of course, you, but be able to still cheer for the same team that I grew up cheering for. So hopefully it'll continue to be the Packers.
And Sarah, you're kind of the same story. You guys grew up Badgers, Packers, and do you have any specific moments from Tauscher's time playing too? Just fan interactions. You mentioned a gas station. People would freak out. They see Packers in a gas station, or in other cities you see professional athletes in gas stations behind Subway.
Yeah. Well, I think Green Bay is a really large city, but it felt really sort of close-knit and small. Even when we continue to come up, we'll run into people that just had a large impact. We grew up in Green Bay, and so there's a lot of meaningful people here still. And even when we did activities and we used to do a food pantry where we'd walk around and collect cans out in the parking lot, and it was probably my favorite event that we did every year because you really just got to interact with the community and engage with people and really hear their stories, and everyone had one. And I mean, even so, my family grew up. My grandfather always had season tickets, and he believes that he was like on the
One of the 400,000 people at the Ice Bowl.
Yeah.
Everyone has an Ice Bowl story.
Yeah. Which my husband always Mark always teased him about. But I just think Green Bay is such a unique environment in that it's a really big town, but it never feels that big. And I think the people are so genuine in their interaction and their respect for the team and their support of the team. I mean, even just going out to restaurants, everywhere we went, it was really enjoyable. And we miss it, so that's why we keep coming back up. We love it.
Have you felt the love here like that in your 2.5 years now on the team?
Absolutely. Coming out here, I had no idea what to expect. When I got drafted, my guy Tommy here, my, at the time, marketing agent, but now one of my best friends, we were sitting there, and this was during COVID. I got drafted in the COVID class, and we're sitting there, and I'm like, I'm getting this call. I'm getting this call, and it's Ashwaubenon, Wisconsin. And so, I could do that. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, nobody would prank call me today, right? and I pick up, and sure enough, it was Goody and Coach LaFleur, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, hey, we're going to Green Bay. All I knew at that point was that you guys like cheese, and Aaron Rodgers was here. And so we came out here 3 days later. But ever since I've been out here, I moved out here, and I got Instagram DMs from people in Green Bay, and they're like, hey, I just made this meatloaf. I just made this lasagna. Can I bring it by your apartment? I want to make sure you have food. And I'm coming from Boston. I'm coming from the city, and I'm like, I appreciate it, but I'm not going to accept that food. But now knowing Green Bay, that's just like how nice the people are out here, and they're so genuine. But I will never forget that the second I stepped in Green Bay, people are already asking me or offering me home-cooked meals. So that's how it's felt. Wisconsin's a home for me. My wife's obviously from here. I learned how to drive. She taught me how to drive. I had no license. Right out here
Interesting.
in our Honda Accord, in the Lambeau parking lots. That's how I learned to park. We just drive around, and I learned how to drive in there. And so, there's been a lot of firsts here. Definitely home for us, and definitely feel the love.
Is the driving improved?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, Tom.
So AJ mentioned Tom. Let's give him a round of applause. He helped plan a lot of this today. I mentioned earlier, and we're talking here, all of the community-driven things. In 2008, Tausch, you were named the Walter Payton Man of the Year, the nominee for the Green Bay Packers, and you've achieved a lot in your career, from going from a walk-on at Wisconsin to a Green and Gold Hall of Famer. But that, I know, has always stuck out to you. And then what has that meant to just your legacy and the impact that you've had on your state and on the teams that you've represented?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that award means a lot because it's from the team and the fact that you're out in the community doing things, because it's one thing to go out and you're playing football, and that it is a great honor to be able to do that. And I think one of the things that I, just looking from afar, watching AJ and Gabby handle how they've handled themselves in the community, it's been fun to watch because this community wants to embrace you. And if you just put yourself out there and open up, there's so many great things that you can do. And that's, for me, I was really fortunate. In 2008, we did a bunch of stuff, and the state, the city, it just loves the Packers, and it loves to do great things. They are such, it is such a, from a loyalty standpoint, I haven't been anywhere else, but you could talk to 100 different teams, and every NFL team and every program is great, but this place is special. And that's what, for me, that's why I just was really blessed to be able to spend 11 years here, because it's just different.
And the news cameras are here. We can say now in 2023, I'm willing to put money on A.J. Dillon representing the Green Bay Packers as the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. But A.J., outside of football, so in 20 years when you retire and you never played for another team, and 10 Super Bowls, Hall of Fame, the whole deal. What
10. We gotta get started.
What do you want people to remember most about your career and your time here in Green Bay?
I really think, obviously there's a football piece, and, this kind of goes hand in hand with the on-field and off the field. One thing I said when I got drafted and they asked me to, do the introduction to the Packer Nation, the Packer faithful, was I said whether it was the first quarter or overtime, whether it's first down or fourth down, I want to get to the point where everybody on the sideline, everybody in the stands, everybody watching at home sees 28 out there, and they respect the work I'm going to do, and they're like, he's going to get the job done. I think the most important thing I can do for the Packers is just be accountable and always show up and always lead by example. I'm not always the most vocal and yelling and stuff like that, but I think that translates into kind of how I approach off the field things and our family, and working with you guys. I really just want to be somebody who's reliable, and I can, when things come up, I can spread awareness on great causes and great foundations and great things for the community. So I think just being a stand-up guy and doing the right things.
That's a great answer. We're gonna get to the audience here in just one sec, so if you guys have your questions planned, we'll get to a few of you. But obviously, we're in an NFL stadium today, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention, if anyone mentioned or was watching Monday Night Football, and the incident with Damar Hamlin of the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if anyone got to see the threes on Lambeau Field this weekend are outlined. Actually, Damar wears number 3 for the Buffalo Bills, and I kind of wanted to get your guys' perspective. And I know, AJ, you've been asked about this in the locker room, and Tausch on the radio show this past week, but from Gab and Sarah as well, just like football didn't matter at all until Damar showed some improvement over the past week, and you can watch the news and SportsCenter or whatever, and football was secondary, which I think is the most important. And just from you guys, just whether it's community or whatever, football is just, it's a family, obviously. Even when you're playing for separate teams, it is a complete family effort. And I just wanted to get your guys' perspective on that and the things we saw in the aftermath of Damar's incident on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, I think just looking at it, former players, But what was really cool, you have 32 teams that are, the competitiveness is unbelievable. Like the margin for error and winning, and the fact that everybody, every team, every organization kind of just acknowledged and embraced the brotherhood of being an NFL player. I thought that was really cool how the entire league came together to support and pray and root for him to heal and to get better. And I just, it spoke to how, I guess, just precious being a part of that league is.
Yeah, I mean, you really just hit it, but you know, there is just such that community within the league. Obviously, there's so many talented guys. There's very few things that contribute to a win and a loss between teams. There's no team. You can take whatever you think the best team is in the NFL right now and whoever you think is the worst, and there's very few plays in that game that might determine the winner. It's never that black and white. And, you know, the thing that is really cool, and after seeing, you know, the responses on social media and things, everybody came together, and I was really happy to see, you know, fans chiming in and not worrying about fantasy points and things like that, really just worrying about the player, and that's something you don't oftentimes see in these days with social media. They were really, you know, caring about the person, and I've had the chance to play against him. I don't know him personally, but I remember, you know, playing against him when he was at Pitt. We had a star on him because he's an amazing player, and you can see, if you've been following along, all the great work he's been doing in his community. And you see me here now, you see him here now, our family is here. A lot of times people only see the person in the helmet, see him run out on the field, but this is who people really are. We're people just like everybody else. We just happen to be really gifted at playing a game. It's you know, if I weren't, I'd probably be trying to do something like this, volunteering. And we've been blessed with this platform, but I think it's, you know, really important to think about the individual, think about the person, and I'm happy with how everybody did that.
If you guys want to add anything in there, they might have said it all.
Yeah, I thought you hit it all.
Yeah, they said it well. I mean, I think injury is a part of it. I think what would be difficult, I was always nervous. I mean, Mark had a few injuries, and I can even remember one of his injuries. My parents were ill at the time, and he had just come back from something, and he went down on the field, and you know, as the years went on, you knew what the injury was based on which doc went onto the field, because you could tell like what was happening. But I must have gone. We were in the front row, and I'd gotten really very pale because I was very concerned that something terrible had happened. And the offensive linemen that were on the field all rushed over to the sideline. Aaron came up, and they were like, "Not the knee. I think it's his right." And so they were like trying to calm me down because they just. Immediately they knew I would be worried, and so just the thought that they would have the sense to make sure I knew that he was going to be fine, it wasn't a big deal because they knew I was very stressed, was, you know, but I guess in my mind I never had that level of injury, and so that I think would be very scary and very concerning, and even myself, and he doesn't play, it was a powerful thing to watch this week, and I think that was never in the back of my mind. And so I think going forward, that would be something that would play into as, you know, a wife or a girlfriend, or I think that it was scary and it was very real.
Very well said by everyone up here. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for two of the best families we could work with in the state of Wisconsin. And I believe we have time. We have a microphone over here. If we have time for a couple fan questions, raise your hand, and Jody will bring you the microphone. There's one.
So I'll hand it off.
So, AJ, celebration was amazing. Did you guys critique A-Rod's air guitar? That was rough. And can we get more cowbell from Josh Myers? I mean, that's it.
Yeah. So we showed it. It came up a few times during the meetings. The coaches do a good job of keeping, you know, the meetings lighthearted and trying to sprinkle in some, you know, funny videos and stuff throughout the film and things. We did. I forget which movie it is, but there's a movie. I'm terrible with who's the guy who plays Ant-Man? Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I'm terrible with actors' names, but whatever movie he's in where he's like slapping the bass. We had that up, and we had A-Rod right next to it, like in the same video, and they're like, who did it better? We had like the whole team vote, and we just had a good time with it. And so it was really cool to see A-Rod get into it like that. I have that picture. Every time we win, we get to pick a picture, the best picture, and we get it like kind of framed, and we get to take it home. And so that's one I got from this last week, and we got everybody playing the instruments. I'm like, I got to get him to sign that.
So wait, who won, Aaron or Paul Rudd?
Aaron won. Yeah.
Were people scared to vote against him?
It was anonymous voting. Anonymous voting. Yes.
What else do we have in the crowd there? I think we got a couple up here. She'll bring you the mic. That works.
So, as a woman with larger feet, I know how hard it is to get large shoes. As a man with legs like you have, where do you find pants that fit?
I'm gonna direct that to Gabrielle, but I know it's all about the material. You got to get something that stretches.
Athletic fit. Anything if it doesn't say athletic fit next to it, we're not gonna buy it at all. But it's tough. A lot of tailoring. They don't just come out of the package and fit.
Yeah.
I wondered if you had like a custom.
Yeah, we do have a lot of custom made ones.
I got a really little waist and then
Yep.
big. So
3
like I'll
times.
either get like 40 waist or 40-something waist, and then I got my belt wrapped around twice, and it was rough, but gladly I'm in the league now.
Yeah, you can get some
It sounds like
nicer
not the
pants.
worst issue you could have.
It's not. It's definitely first world problem for sure.
Is it weird how many people are like obsessed with your quads?
It's like weird and cool at the same time. Like I love the nicknames, the Quad Father, Quadzilla. Like that's fun.
It's when people feel
It's
them.
when people like I've had like grown adults like ask to like grab my leg, take pictures. I always tell this one story when I think it was after my first off season. I was in one of the connectors, so I might have been in like Chicago or Detroit, whichever one I was connecting leaving here. And somebody's like, hey, like I was wearing shorts at the time, and they're like, hey, are you AJ Dillon? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, the Quad Father? I'm like, yeah. And like, can I take a picture with you? Sure, absolutely. And the gentleman has his wife right there, and he's like, all right, here's the phone. And before, like we're sitting there, I'm ready, got my arm out, and before I know it, he's down on his knees with his arms wrapped around, and she takes a picture, and I'm just standing there in shock. And like, this is a 40-year-old man, wife, like they're complete adults. And I was just like, who are you going to show that to? Like, who thinks that's like okay? But it's definitely a lot of fun. All the guys on the team make fun of me for it.
Could be worse things.
Absolutely.
I feel like we got to find that picture on Facebook somewhere.
I know, we definitely do. I got some funny ones to pull out for sure.
Tauscher, what's the weirdest interaction you've ever had with a fan?
I've
Top that.
I've never had anybody ask to hug my quads.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, you never
Any
know.
takers? Isn't that what that drawing's for?
Been a lot of people wanting to lose.
Well, if that's all the questions we have from the crowd tonight, once again, in just a second here, these two guys will pick a raffle ticket from the bin here, and we were going to send someone to Sunday's win and get in home game for the Green Bay Packers. But before we do that, just a round of applause to all of you guys, to Patty and Liz and everyone who came out to show their support this evening and to make what we do at Feeding America Eastern Wisconsin possible. So thank you once again.